На нашей земле произошла страшная трагедия. Все последние дни каждый из нас глубоко страдал и пропустил через свое сердце все, что происходило в российском городе Беслане.
On September 1st, 2004, in the small town of Bieslan, terrorists took more than 1,000 people as hostages, including almost 800 children at school number 1. The siege lasted for 3 days and ended with the death of 334 people. Although the victim toll is lower than the one of 9/11, because of the fact that so many innocent children died, the impact that the Bieslan terrorist attack left on Russia and Russian society as a whole is definitely comparable to the one that 9/11 had on the United States and the entire world. Guys, good morning from Vladikavkaz in North Ossetia. Today's video is going to be a sad one, as we are going to be visiting Bieslan, in the school where the whole traumatizing events of 2004 took place. We've got our taxi driver, Vitaly, who yesterday took us, if you remember, for a ride around the Ossetian mountains, and with him we are going to be driving to Bieslan. We are going to be visiting the school and possibly the cemetery where many of the victims of Bieslan are resting eternally. So yeah, let's get in the car and let's see what we can find at the school, and let's see if we can pay our respects to the victims of that atrocious terrorist attack.
Здравствуйте, Виталий. Как вам? Как спалось?
Отлично.
Хорошо?
Сегодня будет грустный день, грустное посещение Беслана.
Я читал 354 погибло.
Да, это официально.
А вы думаете, что
Больше.
больше?
Да. Потом многих не нашли.
А террористы нашли или нет? Да, все? Хорошо.
Всех, не всех, но всех убили. Один только остался. И он сидит сейчас.
Понял.
Before meeting with Vitaly so he could drive me to Bieslan, I had no idea he was actually working in Vladikavkaz as a policeman back in 2004. As you are going to tell from my reaction, I was absolutely shocked when he told me that he was called up to the scene in Bieslan on that very day of September.
А вы помните, где вы были в тот день?
Там.
В Беслане?
Да.
Ну, как гражданин или...
Я работал в полиции.
Понятно. Вы были прямо там?
Да.
Вы помните в тот момент, не знаю, может вы были дома или на улице работая, и вас звонили и говорили...
Я вышел на работу, и в город, когда приехал, по радио передали, что вот так захвачена школа Беслана. Я по радио узнал.
Понял. А вы сразу поехали?
И сразу поехали.
So we made it to school number 1. This is... Это парковка школы, да? You see over there, there's a church, and you can already see some flowers which were laid in front of the gym at the school there.
On the morning of September 1st, 2004, terrorists were traveling from the bordering region of Ingushetia. While they were coming here, they stopped to beat a police officer, an Ossetian police officer, and they stole his car. With that, they came to here, to school number 1, Szkola numer 1. And this all happened very early in the morning, so parents and children were still making their way to school. And it was exactly here that the terrorists started shooting the guns and the weapons up in the air, and they were shouting and screaming, "Everyone gets inside." Some people during the commotion were able to escape, but most people were to be trapped inside the school for the following 3 days. Приехали, сказали, все внутри.
Все начали, говорит, стрелять и загонять их в спортзал.
сразу в спортзал, да? Это что, это центральный вход?
Да.
Понял. And of course, as soon as the terrorists came, everybody, children, parents and teachers, made their way towards the sportzal, towards the gym. You see the wooden floor. You can still see the rim of the basket where kids used to play. And just imagine, you see this is a very small gym, and you had what, 1,000 people trapped in here. А вы били все округ школы?
Вокруг, с той стороны.
В той стороне?
Да.
А по этой дороге кто был?
Там военные.
Военные. А полиция на той стороне? For the whole 3 days, the kids of Beslan with their parents, with their teachers, had to be trapped inside here, inside this sportzal, inside this gym. And they were denied food, they were denied water for the whole duration of the siege. And I read that many people, many kids had to pee inside water bottles because they were not even allowed to go to the bathroom. And what they would do with water bottles full of urine, they had to drink it afterwards because again they had no access to water. Just imagine how inhumane their conditions were inside the school of Beslan.
Все для себя. По-русски понимаешь? Понимаешь? Все для себя, для здоровья, родных, близких. А потом уже где хотите погибшим можете поставить. ОМОНовцы.
The first 2 days of the siege, the terrorists asked to be able to speak with a few prominent figures from the government of North Ossetia, Ingushetia, Chechnya, and even from the Russian parliament in order for their demands to be met. А я знаю, что был человек, может, из парламента России, он пошел в спортзал 2 дня. Аушев. Угу.
Ингуш.
И что он говорил с террористами?
Не знаю.
Но благодаря ему, я думаю, что некоторые детей были
Да,
освобождены.
20 человек
Он
вышло.
вывел с собой 20.
Ага.
Детей.
Uh-huh. And then during the 3rd day, that's when everything went to basically. First of all, there was an explosion. There was an explosion at around lunchtime, the cause of which is still not clear to this day, but there was an explosion which made the roof of the gym collapse, and of course you can imagine how many people died due to that explosion. And then the raid began. You see this hole? This hole was made by the Russian special forces in order to try and make their way into the gym from here. And the very first thing that happened was that an agent, a military soldier from the Russian special forces, tried to make his way into the gym from here, and as soon as he did that, he was shot by a terrorist who was standing right here. Now we're going to make our way to the cemetery, the main cemetery of Beslan, where many of the victims from those first 3 days of September are made to rest indefinitely. 17 лет назад, ну как сегодня помните, конечно. Я думаю, что тот день был для России, как, например, сентября 11 для американцев, да? Но, к сожалению, в Европе, в нашем мире, очень мало людей знают о Беслане в Европе, конечно. Но это жалко, это грустно. И думаю, что люди надо узнать.
Весь мир потом помогал детям. Со всех стран присылали помощь.
Это хорошо, это хорошо.
Помощь для детей.
Угу.
А много детей, и думаю, что они родились в таком же году, как я. Мне 24 лет,
Да.
и много...
Там разные были. И маленькие, и большие.
Это кладбище, да?
So we now made it to the cemetery of Biaslan. The old cemetery was too small initially to accommodate all the dead bodies from the events of September 1st. So eventually the cemetery had to be enlarged. А все людей, которые погибли в школе, здесь или в других?
И в других тоже есть. Кто в селе жил, тех в села забрали.
Понял.
Где их не близкие
Понял.
похоронены.
Let's see if we can go inside and have a look. Well, from the very first one, you can see the date. 3rd of December 2004. Rubayev Artur Bekmurzaevich. He probably was a teacher or a father, 41 years old. This was a kid, 11 years old. 3rd of September 2004. He died during the 3rd day of the siege. So did Kusova Mabina. Wow, again, 11 years old. Oh man. You see Boris and Vera, and their lives were taken far too young on the 3rd of September 2004. Boris was only 14 years old. Vera was even younger, at 12 years of age. You can see how this very fitting monument was erected in honor of the victims of Biaslan. These 3 women holding little angels that are flying towards the sky. And at the feet of the statue you see many toys and flowers that are regularly left by people coming to visit the cemetery of Biaslan.
Воду приносят из-за того, что им 3 дня воды не давали.
Oh, да, я читал об этом. So of course here again you have flowers, toys, and as Vitalik was just saying, you have the water symbolizing the fact that kids were not given water by the hostage takers for the whole duration of the siege. The events of Biaslan surely are still very firm in the memory of the people of Biaslan, Vladikavkaz, and the entire region of North Ossetia. And I have to say, I'm happy, I'm proud that I had the strength to go and check out a place like this, although it wasn't easy. Let me tell you that, checking out the school where such atrocities could occur, along with the cemetery, of course. So still, I'm happy that I was able to do it. I'm thankful that I had the chance, and yeah, guys, I hope you learned something new today from Biaslan. I'll see you next time. Bye.